Hi, I'm Dan Fazio with GI Jobs. Welcome to our Success After Service series. Today I'm talking with Jasmine Czarnecki, a Marine Corps veteran who is now loving her civilian career as a property manager for Cushman Wakefield in Manhattan. Welcome, Jasmine.
Thanks, Dan.
Jasmine is currently commuting to her job in Manhattan, so we're going to catch up with her there. She is not driving, so don't worry. Safety
Can
first.
confirm. Yes.
So, what better place to start than in the beginning? Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in a town called Reading in Pennsylvania. Originally from New York, but family moved over to PA just to get better education, better jobs, all of those good things. So I say I was born in New York, but I'm from PA.
Gotcha. I actually know where Reading is. I went to
Oh,
school near Hamburg, Pennsylvania, which is just,
oh my God.
yeah,
Small world.
it is a small world, yeah. So, at what point did you decide to enlist in the Marine Corps, and why that particular branch?
I was an easy sell. I joined ROTC in high school. So once I saw that my instructors were Marines, they followed the entire Marine Corps curriculum. From that moment on, I just automatically knew I was going to be a Marine. So once the recruiter stopped by, I was like, sign me up. And that was easy.
Yeah, as so many people say, it was the uniform. I loved the uniform. It's like,
Exactly.
yeah. So, tell us about your time as an active duty Marine. What was your MOS, and did you deploy overseas at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So I enlisted in 2009, and my MOS is an ammunition technician specialist, 2311. The best way to explain it in layman's terms is that I am a bank for bullets. You and your unit would come for me, would come for X amount of different types of calibers of rounds, munitions, grenades, rocket launchers for training simulations, but obviously the simulations would go into real life as I did deploy to Afghanistan in 2010, where I essentially did the same job, but of course, more severity behind the scope of work of the munitions that I was issuing out to those various groups that needed the ammunition.
I see. So, when patrols were going outside the wire, they came to you to load up.
Correct.
Gotcha. So, when you decided to separate, what was your exit plan?
There really was no exit plan, and that's something that I wish I could shake young Jasmine. But older Jasmine still doesn't have much of a plan. I kind of just go off of the seam of my pants, which kills my husband and my father. But I thought I was going to go to school in California, where I had EAS'd in Camp Pendleton, but life shifted me over to Ohio, where my husband is from. And I did a short stint in Ohio, just going back to school, trying to acclimate, and then slowly started making my way back to where I lived in the New Jersey tri-state area. And I've been in New Jersey ever since.
Gotcha. What surprised you most about civilian life after you EAS'd?
Once getting out, it was just that sense of belonging that people gravitate towards, but it just didn't feel as authentic. And then again, the biggest thing that kind of really got to me was just the lack of manners. People are really rude, unfortunately. Not a good morning, or proper greeting of the day, or holding the door, or how can I help you. It's really, especially in New York City, it's very hustle and bustle. But yeah, I realized that the things that we were taught in the Marine Corps definitely helps us stand apart. But it was definitely a good adjustment period for sure.
So, how did you get from Ohio to being a property manager in Manhattan?
Again, a very crazy story. In Ohio, I was working at a homeless shelter while going to school as well. Wasn't as fulfilling, so I asked my dad, who works in New York City, for a few opportunities, and thankfully he landed me a job working as a mailroom associate for a company called WeWork that is well known in New York City and in a few other places. I was there for about 4.5 years ish, and unfortunately, they did massive layoffs. And but with that being said, we were kind of revolved around real estate, even though they were labeled as a technology company at the time. But that real estate realm kind of helped build onto where I then joined CBRE. And it happens all the time in the property management world, is that CBRE did not win the assignment at my property that I worked at. So I just transferred over to Cushman and Wakefield, and I've been with Cushman and Wakefield ever since.
That makes sense. So what's it like being a property manager? Tell us about the property you manage.
So I say property management is never the same day twice. It's always something new. It's always something different. It's a lot of fun. So right now I manage two properties. I'm on my way to one of them right now just to deal with some construction and tenant move-in. So overall property management can be various things. I oversee construction to make sure that the space gets built out prior to the tenant moving in. And then it's more so managing that space for them once that tenant moves in. So then that way they can do just their job. I pay the bills to keep the lights on, so then that way they can continue to do the work. That I fix all of the equipment to make sure that their space is comfortable, i.e. like HVAC or the heating, elevators, everything that revolves around having an operationally and mechanically sound building. My hands are all over it.
Wow, that sounds like a lot.
So much fun.
Yeah. Is this an apartment building that you manage, or kind of property?
I manage commercial. So these are office spaces.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So you mentioned there's no 2 days alike. Give us a glimpse. Like, what do you think you're gonna do today?
So today is usually, actually I have an interview today for a position at my other property today. The current property that I'm heading to today, I'm just popping in, saying hi to my tenants, checking in on one of the construction floors to make sure that we're on track with the deadline that we have to fulfill. Then walking over to my other property to see that interview for a potential candidate, and just seeing where my inbox is from there and taking it an email at a time.
Yeah. How full are your buildings? Just out of curiosity, it seems like you hear a lot about empty buildings after COVID.
Absolutely. Fortunately, we are experiencing a ramp up period at both of my properties. So I'm comfortably over 70% at each of my buildings, which is a really good thing to have.
Yeah. Fantastic.
It is.
Would you recommend this career to another veteran?
I would absolutely recommend it. If you're looking for that same high speed, that sense of belonging, all of those, that high stressful situations, but minus, the war scene is situation. This is very fast paced, and I think that's what a lot of people separating from the military miss. With that being said, all of our skills, for me being an ammunition, how does that translate to real estate? It's all of the skills that you learned while you're there, the discipline higher ups, but also learning how to manage up as it's just a lot of people don't think that they're technically qualified for it because they were an ammo tech, or they were a cook, or they were motor T, but beyond the actual scope that they did, the skills and everything that we learned while there, it was definitely advantageous to be in property management.
So what advice do you have for service members who are preparing for their own transition from the military?
Anybody that is separating from the military needs to save their money. I was rarely young, and I had one of those brand new cars that you bought as a junior Marine that you shouldn't have bought. Just save your money. Everybody thinks they have a plan, and surprise, the plan doesn't go according to plan the way that you want it to, but just having that bit of financial security lessens the pressure and the load.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
Do not buy a car if you don't need it.
Yeah, you don't need a Mag Mustang. Fantastic. Well, Jasmine, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I will say thank you for your service. There's no right or wrong for staying in or choosing to get out. Everything that you learned while in your time of service is extremely valuable. Don't regret it for a moment. And there will be times where it's tough being back in the civilian world, but remember, you're tougher, and the world is our oyster.
Outstanding. Well, thank you so much for your time today, and have a great day at work.
Thanks, Dan. You too.